Hey there, I finally got my hands on the Delta 17 War in the Shadows 3.75-inch O-ring action figures. They have been out for a little while, but I was only able to recently snag them, and we've got 12 figures and, well, one exclusive right there. I've left one in the package just so you could see what the package looks like, and so I can kind of show you what it looks like as well. So this is what the figure looks like on card. And as you can see, you've got the figure, you've got accessories surrounding in the bubble. This is not what they classify as a collector-friendly packaging. This is an actual bubble glued onto this card. The card also has artwork. This is very reminiscent of the old 80s G.I. Joe figures, with just some differences because this is a different line. You've got the logo up here, and you've got the name of the figure in the bottom left corner with a little symbol, which I'm guessing is good guy or bad guy symbol. And just to confirm that, I grabbed another one, and yes, indeed, here is a different symbol in the bottom left, and that is that character's affiliation symbol. We'll flip this card around, and as you can see, there is a cross out. Looks like all the good guys are on the left side, and the two different sets, I believe it's two different sets of bad guys, are on the right side. You've got a group shot of the good guys here because, well, this is a good guy figure in this card, and there is a little bio for this character, this figure, but it doesn't have any little dashed lines because, you know, us classic collectors love our dashed lines, so that we could cut this out and file them in our file folder. Either way, if you own this, this is yours, so if you want, you could cut this out as kind of odd and squarish as it is, and you could create your own new little file card system, or you could just leave it in the package or leave it on the card and collect the entire card. So what are we going to do in this video? There have been a lot of videos out of these figures at this point. I'm very late into the game just because I haven't been able to get them. So what I'm planning on doing is taking a closer look at each one of these figures and not necessarily showing you all the articulation or all the accessories, but just kind of get a much closer look at every single figure. And then near the end, I'm going to do some height comparisons between them and some other recent and more classic O-ring action figures. So let's get in and take a deep dive into the world of Delta 17. I do want to point out real quick that there is a Delta 17 War in the Shadows comic book that is offered on the Delta17toys.com website. So if you're interested in finding out or reading a story with these figures, this is a number one. The ending does say to be continued. However, this issue was put out in June of 2024, so it's been a few months. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of an issue 2, but it does say to be continued, so I hope they do actually continue the series because I think that'd be really cool and help the people who are buying their figures to get a little bit more familiar with these characters, because without this story, these are just random, cool-looking figures that really, truly mean nothing. Anyway, let's get to the toys. So the first figure we're going to take a look at is Shepard, and we're going to take a look at him probably the most of any figure. So these figures do come with a square figure stand that says Delta 17 down there, single peg. These figures do have a couple holes, one on each foot, so they will easily fit there. The reason this is a good idea is because, unfortunately, these figures are just a little bit difficult to stand on their own. You can stand them straight up like that, but if you want to try and get them into kind of like a cool pose, unless you're really talented, like apparently I am right there, these are O-ring figures, and they don't have joints down here in the ankles or in the lower legs to where doing some really fancy poses would be really cool. So you're going to need the figure stand if you want to get them in some sort of a fun, crazy pose, like that, you know, a kneeling pose. That's actually about it. But yeah, if you want to try and get them into different poses, maybe have a leg off, you're definitely going to need this figure stand. So these are pretty nice little figures. You can see what he comes with here. He comes with some nice accessories. There's a backpack, and the backpack will hold one of these guns in those little brackets right there. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think it's this one that is the main one that it hooks to. If I hold it like this, you can see that the brackets are right there. He's got this reversible night vision scope up here. I have to say, I think this is just a little weird, a little funny, because if you were using these would flip down, and what you do is you unhook them and you flip them around and you poke him in. Now he's looking out his night vision goggles, except for now if you were to flip them up, the red lenses would be facing back. It's just kind of a weird little thing. This is an external, an external hat that he's wearing. You could take this off and have him like that if you'd like to, but this is him all geared up. It's a nice figure. It's a very standard O-ring figure, mostly, except for he has a wrist swivel. And looking around at this figure, I think that's the only difference from classic G.I. Joe figures, is this wrist swivel. The head is the same. Behind the backpack, we'll take the backpack off. You've got a hole back here, and in there, from what I can see, there is a screw. So if you want to get in and mix and match these figures like you used to do with the old 80s G.I. Joe figures, take out the screw, pop them apart, and start mixing and matching. And it's a lot of fun to customize that way, I think. That was the only way I customized when I was a kid, was when I discovered that screw could actually come out. And when you did that, the figures did fall apart. And when they fell apart, you could recreate and make new figures. I think one of my favorites was combining Techno Viper and the Bats. For some reason, I really liked combining those types of pieces. Either way, this is Shepard. Next is Leonidas, and I've got to say, this figure is a bit of an odd one to me. So, he's really colorful, which is very odd. For all of these figures, he's the most colorful one. And he's dressed in the most odd way. He's wearing, ripped off sleeves on the t-shirt. He's wearing shorts. I have to say, unless it was Fortnite, I haven't seen a 4-inch, 3.75-inch action figure wearing shorts, and it looks a little weird. I'm guessing this character, based off of what I read in the comic book, pretty much always wears shorts. So another oddity is the fact he has such pale skin. If he's wearing shorts and a sleeveless shirt all the time, why isn't he more tanned? I would think he would need to be a little bit more tan because of that, unless he's wearing this outfit in the Arctic, but still, you get the sun. It doesn't matter if it's cold or warm. You're still getting the sun. In fact, you're getting a lot of reflection. Another disappointment with this figure is the dog. So the dog is laying perpetually on the backpack, or if you want, you can take the dog off, but the dog's always at rest. The dog is never at ready, like the dog is part of the unit. I think the file card or the file information talks about how he's allowed to have his dog come with him on all of his events. So unless he's just going to be carrying his dog around, as the dog is like, yeah, let me see, I want to see too, and he's fighting the whole time while the dog's just chilling on the backpack, that seems really weird. I think having an animal that's more at ready, like he's part of the unit, part of the squad, part of the battle, it's just kind of weird to me. The inclusion of a dog water dish or a food dish, I mean, that's kind of cool. It's not necessary. It's just a little extra thing they added. So, I mean, that's fine. Got no problem with that. I don't really have a lot of problems with these. But that's the extent of the accessory. Besides the backpack, the food dish, the dog, he's got this gun right here. And he's got non-removable headset there. Overall, I mean, this is not my favorite figure at all. The backpack ends up getting heavy. So if you don't stand him quite right, if you try to stand him up, then I think I may have accidentally pushed it. I mean, there you go. You can get him to stand. If you lean him back too far, actually that's not too bad. Yeah, if you lean him back a little bit too far, he will fall over. So sorry, I didn't mean to misrepresent that. I think I accidentally pushed it over the first time. But I don't know. This figure just... This one is not one of my favorites. I don't like the look of it very well. Probably if the entire line was more like this, then that would be cool. G.I. Joe had a style, and a lot of weird and interesting outfits kind of fit in with that style. but the Delta 17 style, from everything I've seen, is more grays and greens and blacks and browns and very militaristic style, when this one just sticks out, well, sorry to say, kind of like a sore thumb. Anyway, moving on. Then we have Preacher here, who is another brownish, greenish, blackish figure with the color scheme. Here he's got his sniper rifle with a little bipod there, so he can lay on the ground even if his head can't help him snipe. He's going to be looking straight down while he takes blind shots, but that's okay. There we've got this gun as well. He's got a brown backpack that has brackets like Shepard, the first guy. Let's see if I can hold him better. There you go, brackets. And these are designed to hold the guns he's holding. And I find a little thing, so I don't have any of these weapons in these backpack brackets because honestly, it's kind of difficult to figure out where they go. Like, for example, the one here on the right side, if we can see, this is a small bracket, this is a large bracket, and the large one even sticks out further than the small one. So you think, oh, that's really easy, except there are lots of thick and thin areas on both these guns. I'm really not sure which one fits where. And when you look at these brackets, let's stick his arms up. Let's take the backpack off. But when you're looking at them, they're even off center. And these ones here on this side, they stick out the same distance. This is a smaller one, and this is a larger one. And this one's up higher, and this one's down lower. So again, I can't figure out. It'd be nice maybe to have an idea from the package, maybe a little bit behind the figure, showing which weapon goes in which set of brackets, because honestly, I haven't been able to figure it out. You can call me dumb if you want to, but I haven't been able to figure them out. I like this figure. I think this figure is actually pretty neat. He looks pretty familiar to me, and he might look familiar to you, but that's just an opinion from me. But I like the color scheme. I like the green camoed pants. I like the top, the black shirt with the brown bandolier, and whatever, is this armor? Some sort of a shoulder pad. But I like this figure. I think he's pretty nice looking. And we come to a Rooster. This is, I would say, pretty much a hit-and-run clone because he's completely in green camo. Everything about this figure is green, including his mohawk is even the green that is the camo on his outfit. And he is all in on this camo look. He is a very green, and I think even this, I can't tell, even this is like a dark green. But he's got some light gray in the belt and the hands for his gloves. He comes with this weapon right there. He comes with a communications backpack, which is funny because if I remember correctly, his little profile said he doesn't talk much, but when he talks, you're going to want to listen. So of course, this is the figure that comes with a removable radio. This can pop off. I think that's exactly what this is some sort of a communication radio. You can separate this backpack out, so if you don't want him carrying this big one, then he can just carry the small radio one around. My antenna bent. That's very sad. And so he's got a little pouch there, but otherwise, I mean, I kind of like that nested backpacks. That's kind of cool. That's a feature that I actually really like that I don't think G.I. Joe ever did. So, like, you could separate these and choose which backpack or which version of the backpack you want. And, yeah, that's really neat. So, this figure, let me bring in Leonidas for a moment again. This figure is taller, and I didn't measure them, and I'm not sure which one is the actual 3.75 inch, and I don't have a ruler or tape measure handy at the moment. But let's grab Shepard as well. So, looks like Leonidas is a short figure. And maybe that's part of what I don't like. Maybe the proportions are off slightly, and that's what bothers me. But these two are definitely taller figures than this one. We'll get to the comparisons in just a bit, so we'll be able to know. But that's Rooster. I think he, even though I kind of made fun of the color scheme and the mohawk colors and everything, he's actually a cool figure. This is probably... this is getting close to being maybe my #1 favorite. So, just because he's got a great look on him, and the face detail is pretty nice. I like that a lot. Now we got our first female Kestrel, and it took me a little while to really like the Delta 17 female figures. I think the design looked just fine, but it was the face. The paint on the faces really, I don't know, they looked very clownish to me. But I've gotten a little bit more used to them. I think what would help is if this red lipstick was maybe not so bright red, maybe a little bit darker red, maybe a little bit lighter pink, maybe not so bright red. And I don't know, the eyes are just really bright as well. They stand out quite a bit. Heavy eyebrows, heavy pupils, heavy whites in the eyes. I don't know, when we have a figure like Rooster over here, who's very dark eyes, I'm looking here, it's like they're, even though he's got about the same kind of eyebrow, the whole eye area is just really dark. And so, I don't know, there's something about the female figure that kind of looks clownish, but I'm starting to get used to it more. She comes with only a few accessories. You've got this gun right there, there's a backpack, and then right here a knife that will slide into a little sheath on the backpack. Otherwise, she's just a pretty basic female figure. She's some sort of, a double agent, if I remember right, in the comic book. I won't spoil how they meet up with her, but she's like a double agent of a sort. Now, one thing I'll say about the comic is it introduced a couple characters that are not figures, so I'm hoping that's the plan. Maybe Wave 1.5, maybe Wave 2 is going to have some of the characters from the comic book. But anyway, she's a nice figure. It's a very basic looking female. She's not real buff. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what to say. It's not a bad female once you get used to the face painting, but that's Kestrel. And then we have an attack from both sides, the Delta Squad A and B. There is a lighter skin version right there, and I'll pull this mask off, and you can see this is a darker version. So you have two different skin colors for these figures. What I took off was some sort of a little gas mask of sorts that just fits up here around the back of the helmet. There are some holes in the back of the helmet here, but I can't seem to really get it to fix in there, so I just kind of put it up there, cross my fingers that it stays, and that it holds it. Like right now, it's not. When you are not using the gas mask, you get to, hang on, listen for the scream, maybe. Oh, it was quiet. The gas mask will fit inside of the backpack area here. See, there it is. Slide it in, slide it out, and it works really well. That's kind of cool. None of the classic G.I. Joes had things that you could put inside the backpack that I remember, so that's a really cool feature. I like that one a lot. Now, talking about things that I like, I actually really like these Delta Squad figures. I think the design is clean. I think the design is good. And these are just really nice looking soldiers. And these are probably my number 2 favorite of at least the good guys. I mean, there's a bunch. I have a lot of favorites here, so I've got to be careful what I say and how I say it. But anyway, so let's turn them this way so you can see that there is a knife in the backpack that comes separate. You've got a couple rockets that fit onto the back of the backpack here. And then there's a third rocket that fits down inside of this weapon right there. And that weapon pegs onto the side of the backpack. All these, if you haven't noticed, pretty much all of these figures, accessories, can mount on the figure, which is really cool. Let's go ahead and just tuck this one away real quick while I've got it here and out. We'll tuck that in there. That is just so cool. I like that a lot. And now we're going to knock his rockets off. Knock his rockets off. But yeah, at the end of the day, these are some really cool troop building figures. And I don't know, I don't know if I really want to troop build an O-ring line or not. But if I was going to, this Delta 17 line does have some legit good-looking troop builders, and we'll get to some of those now. Let's take a look at some bad guys. And we'll just begin with the best bad guy O-ring figure that I have seen in a long time. While some people might hold off the best-looking figures till the end, no. We're going to go ahead and show you the leader, probably the best of the bad guys from Delta 17. And like I said, probably one of the best bad guy O-ring figures I have seen in a lot of years. I don't know that there's any that can hold a candle to this one right here. This is Shadow Dragon. And let me just point out one thing he's got. Besides this really cool, shimmery, shiny cape, there's a wire in its base, so you can actually bend it around and do different things with it. So if you want to be straight out, if you wanted to do something kind of weird, get in some sort of a pose, you can do that. That's kind of cool. The next best thing would be maybe wires down the side, but you know what? This is pretty cool. This is more than I expected. I didn't even expect a wire when I was opening this figure. But this figure just looks so cool. Now, I know if you know this character, you know this figure, maybe you know the story a little bit, and you're wondering, why did I present this figure with a gun in his hand? It's because he has places for his swords on his back. But I can't find any place on this figure to put this gun. And so because of that, and what I said earlier, that these figures can hold their accessories, this was the only way that I could get him to hold all of his accessories to show it off. But I actually do think he looks so much better with his swords in his hands. It matches. Let's turn that around there. So let's go ahead and give him both swords. I know I didn't change anything up on the other guys, but I am this one. Turn that around. There we go. And now he's got his swords. And yes, he looks so much cooler. Doesn't he look cool? I mean, look at this. That design. That's a good design. As far as I'm concerned, that is a really good design. So this cape is stuck under this piece, and I'm not really... Oh, this is the first... I didn't know this came off. Look at that. So you could take the cape off, it looks like. Whoa! And he could go into battle capeless. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just discovered this. I was looking around at this right now. So this comes off. Does the front come off? We are discovering something together. Actually, you probably knew and I didn't. You're probably thinking the whole time, come on, take the thing off and show the cape. So that's oh, I love this. This is awesome. This is something, this is an upgrade from way back in the G.I. Joe era when you just put the capes on around the arms. I gotta get it back on. Put the cape on around the arms, or actually I think that was it. They were all just around the arms. I can't get it back on. Let's see. I got too big of fingers for this little figure. There we go. We're just going to do that. There we go. Look at that. And the cape is back on. That is so awesome. This figure just went up a little bit higher in my book. This is absolutely my favorite figure from Delta 17. And I usually don't have bad guys as my #1 favorite, but the design, the look, everything about this is awesome. Video over. Have a good day. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep moving on to Jaguar, the second in command to... Oh, shoot. Was it the Shadow Army? I think it's the Shadow Army. Sorry, no, the Dark Shadows, because I had to just look it up real quick. So anyway, he has got this kind of gun right there, and he's got some cool backwards blades that slide into his backpack. He's got a gray backpack, and he's got a sniper rifle with a bipod. I don't really know how the sniper rifle goes on. I think that's kind of low, but the way they attached it, it hooks to pegs. There's a couple holes in the barrel. If I did it the other way, then it's going to stick up like about that high. And, you know, come on, when you're going under a bridge, dude, that's going to knock the barrel off. That's just too high. So, at least for my purposes, maybe for display, then it is going to stay sticking down, even though I think that looks a little weird. These blades can be mounted several different ways. You don't hold them like this necessarily. You kind of more like hold them like that. It's kind of a backwards look, so let me just show you there. We'll hook these on. The fingers are bendy, so the hands are just a little bit flexible. So there. He kind of does this number. And he does a whoosh, you know, something like that. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And he makes those sound effects when he does it. So this guy apparently is like next to impossible to communicate. He whispers and he does all sorts of weird things. He has this definite cat-like vibe with his black stripes. and his gray outfit. So yeah, Jaguar. He's very interesting. That's all I'll say. Very interesting. This stupid thing keeps falling off. Let's move on to the Okami, and let's just be real from it. Let's just call this Ninja Bat. That's pretty much what it is. It's like a battle android trooper with swords on the hands. And you can pull these off. I mean, check that out. He's like a bat. You can swap out his hands. Because I put his hands right back here on the back, you can put this gun piece on the hand here as well. Everything goes on his backpack. So there, now he's got a sword and gun hand. So yeah, this is just Ninja Bat. I like the colors. I think the gray, the black, and the red look awesome. I think it looks good. This guy also has another double backpack. That's what I'm calling it, a double backpack. So the sword area, if you keep his hands on, then these swords will go in those hands. And if you don't want this accessory backpack, you can take it off and you can just slide that backpack on, and it's more of like a slim down. But you're going to need to make sure he's actually wearing his hands for those to work. Otherwise, these swords will slide right in there like so. And the other one will slide in there right above it. But this is a pretty awesome. This is a nice looking figure. This is cool. He is a robot if you hadn't figured it out. He's Ninja Bat or the Okami. But very nice. I like this. This guy is fun to put into poses and just kind of mess around with. Then we come to the bad woman. This is the female on the enemy side. This is Death Sparrow. And I think, if I understand it correctly, she's the head, or she leads her own faction called Retrograd. And she kind of like contracts out to Shadow Dragon, I think. The Dark Shadows. I wasn't really clear on that. The profiles on the cards make it sound like she leads her own faction, while Shadow Dragon, this guy, leads his own faction. Sometimes they collaborate and sometimes they don't. I don't know. All she comes with is that weapon and that backpack, and that's it. She's a leader who doesn't need stuff, apparently. She is very confident in her ability to do whatever she needs with that one single gun, where everyone else has like a ton of accessories. Actually, Leonidas is pretty strong with just the one gun and a dog who sits all the time. Anyway, like Kestrel, the female face kind of bothered me a little bit in that the detail is nice. I like these female figures, and their face design are much better than the old classic G.I. Joe figures. But I think it's the lipstick again. I think if this was a darker red or maybe a lighter pink, that would help a whole lot. I do like the looks, the colors, the design. Everything looks good on this figure. It's a very nice looking female figure, I think. But there's really not much more to say except for next. The Thunder Battalion. And this is the bad guy troop builder. Actually, that's not true. I mean, it is true. But Okami is also a troop builder as well. But anyway, this is the only figure that I have seen from Delta 17 that cannot hold all of his own accessories, unless there's something hiding in here. Nope, I don't think so. He has actually two masks, one with a red and one with, this is actually see-through. So this pops off right there. You can see he's got, there we go, a head that looks like that. You can put on this helmet, and besides the fact the helmet looks massive, you can have the visor that I brought him in with, or you can attach this one right there. And you can see his bright, beautiful eyes right through that mask. I'm not sure if the idea is this is glass and it's just see-through, or if it's actually supposed to be open so someone could, like, you know, say, stab him through there. I'm really not sure. But anyway, he comes with this weapon right there. He comes with his backpack. It's got some rope. He's got the helmet, as I showed you, with two visors, unfortunately. We'll take a look here again, but I'm pretty sure this visor, there's no room in the inn for this visor right there. And he's got a belt. I mean, this is like a harness belt. And it does come off right there. It can unhook, and you can have this guy beltless. And truthfully, I've been meaning to want to take this belt off just to see what he looks like. Let's do it for the first time here. I kind of think I like this figure. Oh, actually, I think I like this figure so much better without that big, bulky belt. Yeah, I do. I mean, look, if he could take all this off, too. We could have a really cool... maybe. There we go. Now, that's a cool little figure. A little soldier. This, I might... Let's just throw all sorts of stuff away. Yeah, I like this figure this way. But anyway, it's not really how he's intended. You're supposed to have this belt on to get the full effect. Is this like a med patch? First aid kit? It's a Red Cross? I don't know. But anyway, I like this figure now. After I remove those items, I think this is actually pretty cool. Like I said, if I was going to army build an O-ring line, so far Delta 17 is the one that I would army build, just because there's some really nice designs. All right, let's move on to the final figure. Oh yeah, and that final figure is an Okami Elite Sentry. It is a red version of this one right here, and it was an exclusive for Joe Fest 2024. It came in a package like this, so no little profile, no cross sale, no nothing, because, well, it's just a recolor of that figure. And this is what this side says. So see, Okami Elite Sentry right there with its faction logo. It's a cool little case there, and actually is engraved Delta 17 up here at the top. If you want to know more about this story, I will link to the video that discussed why they repainted it. There was a very specific reason. I won't give it away, but I'll link to the video where they're talking about why they chose this red color. And so anyway, I think it's pretty cool. You could definitely have like a couple of these guys that maybe bodyguard Shadow Dragon. You always walk behind him. I guess think of these like maybe the Crimson Guard, and these guys are more the everyday foot soldiers out in the city streets going crazy, going nuts. These are the nice ones. But anyway, it's the exact same figure. The hands come off, so you can pop on either the sword, and I can't get that back on now, the sword or the gun. Everything is on the backpack, the same backpack as always. Now, actually, I was just thinking about one thing you could do. You could get a few of these guys. You could get a few of these guys, and since they actually match, you could do some interesting part swapping to make like a red and gray mixture figure. That might be kind of cool. Maybe I'll play around with that idea myself. Just see what I come up with. Maybe put some red arms, maybe red legs. I don't know. Maybe I'll play around and just see. He's got silver bits where the red were. Red is. Yeah, red is. Red is. Put his hand back on. But anyway, this is a nice little figure. I like the colors, and I think it works pretty well. And I think it's time that we do some comparisons. So I thought for these height comparisons, I'd just grab the leader for both sides. So we have Shepherd on the left, we have Shadow Dragon on the right, and then we're going to start bringing in some other random O-ring action figures like Skeletron. And this is not from Skeletron, this is actually, is it Grindstone Toys? It's the people who are making Call Sign Longbow. And look at that. We're having a difficulty getting this guy to stand up, whereas these Delta 17s are standing up pretty good. Gonna have to lean him forward a little bit. We'll look at him from the side in a moment. Let's bring in a Riot Commando from Zyka Toys right there. He looks a little bit bigger than those guys. Then we have a Commando. I forget what this guy is, but he's a soldier from Heavy Armor Toys. And we've got this guy, I already forgot his name, from Strike Force Alpha. Okay, once we get him kind of straightened up. So he actually is there. There we go. All right, I think I'm going to need to, let's back up these figures just a little bit, get some more room in here, so we can see all of these next to each other. All this O-ring goodness. You know, the funny thing is, Skeletron's the only figure I've had an issue with standing up of all of these. And as much as I really like that Skeletron figure, I've got a little bit of a problem with it, I think. Alright, so these are some of the more modern ones. We don't have Call Sign Longbow because they're taking forever and a day to get their figures out. But this is as close as we're going to get the Skeletron figure because they made that figure. They made it before their line of figures or alongside of, I don't know. We don't have Operation Recall because they're taking forever and a day to make their figures as well. And there's another O-ring line out there. Oh, there's Legends of the oh, I can't remember. I'm always messing it up. There's always I think of Legends of the Hidden Temple, but it's Legends of the Hidden. It's the ninja guys. I can't believe it. Darren's gonna hate me forever. The ninja guys. But anyway, they actually haven't been out to production for very long, and I think they're coming soon. So anyway, there is an interesting. I'm gonna check to make sure my camera is actually on point. As level. There. Now it's level according to the level at the top. But you can kind of get an idea of height here. Let's turn these guys sideways. That one's having a little bit trouble standing. There's a sideways. There's a sideways. Delta 17 is looking so good. Skeletron's actually not nearly as bad as I thought. He might have been leaning back more. Let's see what's going on with this guy, though. He kind of stands a little weird and sideways, like right there. So here's a little bit of a look sideways. So really and truly, they're not too far off. This Zyka figure is huge. It is much bigger than I realized. These guys are just a little bit smaller. I'd say Skeletron is just about in line. It's kind of difficult to tell when this guy's got the little red horn sticking up above him. And these ones are about the same size, but I think the proportions are kind of large, so they don't fit in very well. Let's get rid of these extras, and now let's take a look at a classic Battle Armor Cobra Commander from the classic G.I. Joe line. And look at that, even he can't stand. Delta 17 is already better than classic G.I. Joe because they can stand. You know why? I have his backpack on. Let's take his backpack off. Take the gun out of his hand he can barely hold on to anymore. And let's see. Oh yeah, much better. So actually, 3's a crowd right in the middle. We'll sandwich in the Cobra Commander figure right there. So you get an idea, and I think proportionate-wise, I think they look pretty good. Gosh, I'd love to have this cape design on one of these figures. I think they look really pretty good proportionately. We'll bring Skeletron back in there just because I can. I'm going to set Zyka over here for a second. Yeah, he's even bigger than Cobra Commander. I did a review with Cobra Commander, a comparison with this guy and Cobra Commander, and I thought they were pretty good at the time, but bye-bye. We'll bring in the heavy armor. Yeah, he looks pretty good next to them as well. Alright, well that is my video review of Delta 17 War in the Shadows 3.75-inch O-ring action figures. Keep an eye out because I'm going to go and do a more in-depth comparison of all of these various, including this guy, O-ring action figures, because I want to decide, I want to see if we can figure out, there's so many coming out, can there only be maybe one true successor to a Real American Hero line? Who is that at this point? Let's talk the O-ring stuff. So keep an eye out for that video in the future. I can't wait to do it, and I can't wait for you to see it. Thank you for stopping by and watching. I will see you next time.